Hey guys, what's happening? We got a 2017 Ninja 650 in for a de-restrict and tune. So we have already stripped down and removed the throttle screw stop that was preventing the throttle from getting full throttle. Now we need to de-restrict all the ECU. I'll post a picture of the throttle screw. Because we obviously did that as a previous job, but now we're doing the tuning. So we'll fit a new tire after the tune. You can see that one's a little bit down. He's got a full Akrapovic system on the bike, and we've got a K&N air filter to fit. But that said, we did order it, but we don't know if it's already got one in. So we're going to disable the closed loop. We're going to de-restrict all the throttle plates, are restricted down to 80. So we're going to pretty much just open up the mapping, pump the timing up, and fully de-restrict it, and then map up the fueling to suit his mods. Stay tuned and enjoy. Okay, so our Ninja 650, here's our results. You can see that it's quite nice and linear in the beginning, and then it kind of flats out at about 8,000 and drops away. You can see on your power curve as well. Sorry for the lighting, it's quite bright outside. It's good not to have rain for a change. But you can see where I've got it centered there in the mid-range is sort of 14.8, and it's about 12.2 on top. And it's quite lean below sort of 3,000. So we're going to straighten all that out, smooth it out, de-restrict the timing and the throttle plates. And then we'll see from there. The beginning numbers are 62.8 horsepower and 58.9, call it 59 Newton meters. So yeah, let's work on that and see if we can get her smooth and better. She's actually pretty good when I run it at the moment. You know, it's quite nice through the gears and quite perky. It's just on top it's suffering because of the restriction that's in the ECU. So let's see if we can sort that out and also gain a bit of torque at the bottom. That'll be nice. All good. Stay tuned. Okay, so we've removed the tank. We had to remove the tank in order to access the ECU. That sits on top of the airbox, but we're fitting a filter anyway. So I've stripped all this out. I need to put in my extension harness, which is this one. So basically that wires in as per Woolwich's diagram. A little bit closer here. So you can kind of see what the pinout is there. And I've got to basically install that into this harness in the back. You can see all those little white pins. So that gets put in there, routes it to the back, to the diagnostic plug, which is over here, and then I can get on with my tune. Okay, so we got our harness all wired in to run to the back. But yeah, this is the situation in the airbox. That's the intake's quite small. I'm just going to phone and ask the client if he wants me to open that up more. And then also it's got these rubber velocity stacks. This is not too much of a train smash, but at high RPM, high velocity, these things tend to pinch closed, and it causes like a lot of incorrect turbulence and restriction, you know, so that's why we fit velocity stacks. So for those of you who are asking me, that's the reason why. So here's the old filter. You can see it's basically 50% restricted with this mesh on the back. That's obviously to stop the big stuff going through, and then obviously it's a paper filter, so that's also pretty restricted. So if you hold it up to the light, you can kind of see through this one, whereas this, nada. You can see there is blocked. Because it's paper, it doesn't flow as much, and that's why we end up fitting the K&Ns and the performance ones. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly find out from the client if he wants me to remove that and cut out the restriction, and then we'll see what we're going to do there. Okay, so you can see basically how small the inlet is to the airbox. It's smaller than the actual intakes to the throttle bodies. So what my plan is to put 2 more holes into those sides there. So I'm going to just open those up with a hole saw, and then we should be good to go. I don't want to cut this out because then we got hot air flowing in from the bottom there. So you can see basically that's what we're looking at. Now add another 2 holes so we're sure we get maximum airflow. The throttle body, the velocity stacks, not much I can do with those, unfortunately, but we'll probably look at those another time. Anyway, let me get this cut open and then I'll get back on it. Okay, so I've cut out my airbox now. So what I always try to do is to match. You can see there now I've added in, I've just taken a hole saw, opened that up. So now we have the same surface area basically as the filter. So I try to match the diameter of the intake to match the filter. So if you take the diameter with a vernier and you work out the surface area, we get similar to what the filter is. It's not essential, I mean, it doesn't really matter. The only problem is I want to do this because of that. These rubber stacks. So what happens is that as soon as you get, sorry, I'm just trying to balance here, I still got a bit of a bad shoulder. So if you drill these out, what you do stop is the engine drinking more air than that little hole can supply, because you can see how restricted it is in there. So what happens is that when it creates a vacuum and the vacuum overcomes how much air is flowing through, and you would get that with this mesh that's like taking half the airflow away, then what happens is on hard acceleration you get that, and that creates engine bog. So like for example, like you cruising and now and you want to accelerate hard, it sucks these closed because there creates less air that is in the airbox than the engine demands, so it creates a suction. So at least by us allowing more airflow into the airbox, it goes sort of 1-to-1 with atmospheric and it reduces these sucking closed. That's why we put velocity stacks, that's why you get better acceleration. With velocity stacks and obviously more power ultimately. But anyway, we don't have those, so I've taken the substitute and opened that up. You can see now we're getting more than enough air into there. We're going to put it all back together and then assemble, flash in our tune, well, our base map so long. I'll just do the de-restrictions and then we'll start mapping up the fueling. Okay, so we got it all back together now. I'm just busy making sure everything's good before I put the tank on there. Our filter's in, everything's modified. You can see in the throttle map for this bike, it opens up to about 99% and then it shuts itself down to 60%. So that's the other restriction, and this is on the secondary throttle plates. So those are obviously shutting down, so you're not getting the airflow you need into the engine to sustain that extra power on top after just removing that screw out the throttle body. So for the guys who are doing that, you're de-restricting your bike because they're normally about 40, so you're gaining about 20 horsepower, but you're losing because your ECU is still restricted. So that's in all the gears. You can see how restricted it is. From 90 it shuts down. You can see the whole way it shuts down. So now we're going to basically open that all up, and then yeah, we'll make some other changes, raise the limiter, drop the fan temp because it's hot here in Cairns. As you can see, I'm sweating, and yeah, then we will get on with our tune. Okay, so I hope you can see this, but that's basically gear 5 and this is gear 6 that I've modified. So you can see we're up 100% all the way, a nice smooth transition from the bottom. And basically what it did look like was that flat as. You can see it basically accelerates up and then it shuts those throttles off. All your airflow is gone, all of it. 40% of your airflow is gone, as you can see there. So that's pretty much why we end up opening it up. You can see here when we go to 6, we've got 100% throttle pretty much in this section of the map, but low down we still want to keep our velocity, so we leave it slightly closed. So that's quite a nice starting position. You can see it's nice and progressive. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, so we have got a teeny tiny little problem on this bike, and that is that the injectors are not sized correctly. So what's happening is that I've checked the duty cycle on the injectors because I couldn't add enough fuel on top once I de-restricted it to be able to compensate to get the correct air fuel ratio I wanted. So I went in and checked the duty cycle of that injector, and both injectors are topping out, so that's probably why they restrict those throttle plates so much. But as you can see, I mean, we've gained massive in the mid-range and we've gained quite big on top, but the problem is now the air fuel ratio. So you can see basically what's happening here is the air fuel ratio, the injector's topping out right on top from where it was closed off. You know, now I can't add more fuel to get the correct fuel ratio I want of, you know, 12.8 to 1 or 13 to 1. So now what I have to do is I have to close those throttles back down just a little bit until I can achieve that air fuel ratio. But I have spoken to the client, and what we're going to do is next time the bike comes in, we'll do maybe the velocity stacks and then put a larger set of injectors in here, and then we can open those throttle plates right up again and then just fuel it up accordingly. So that should definitely sort it with a bigger set of injectors. I thought about maybe going the fuel pressure route, but it's not really a viable option. It's just going to cost too much to modify that whole system and change and put an adjustable regulator and everything else. It just makes sense to put another set of injectors. So once we get to that stage, we will cross that bridge. But as for now, so let me just, I'm busy with it right there. So basically for now, we're just going to back off the throttle bodies until we get our safe mixture. We'll retune it up and then we're pretty much done. But I mean, most of the riding, you know, in this area is done sort of, you know, low to 3/4 RPMs. It's not often that you're hanging on the limiter anyway, but I'd rather just safeten it up just to be safe so we don't have burnt valves and issues there. Anyway, let's finish up our tune. Okay, so we're all done with our Ninja 650. Yeah, she did all right, but as I said, there's a slight injector, you know, supply issue. Obviously, the sizing of the injectors, you know, for the full de-restriction of the engine wasn't great, but I managed to get it pretty good. So it's a little bit lean on top. It's not exactly what I want, but I mean, the client can address that at a later date when he does velocity stacks. But as you can see, we've got a great gain all the way up the range. So especially in the mid-range there's a good 5 Newton meter there, about 3.5, 4 horsepower. So that gain carries through right the way to limiter. And then our air fuel ratio, as you can see, is nice and smooth. But on top, you can see it just peaks out a little bit, but I mean, that's about, say, 13.8, 14 to 1, so it's still within a band where I would feel safe. And also, this bike's not going to spend its life up there. It's not a race bike. So yeah, I have advised the client of that, and I'm happy with the gains. The bike pulls nice and hard, so I'll get it all assembled. We just got to fit a tire and then we are done. Then it's on to the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for our next video. Please feel free to comment and have your say. Let me know what you want. But I hope that you're enjoying my videos, and yeah, I'll keep the content coming. Yeah, the better the old shoulder gets, the more I'm in it. All good. Later.